Round one of your fantasy playoffs are over. Did you survive? Are you left licking your wounds trying to figure out what happened from the season? Well, we hope you won, and we're here to help you with your start-sit decisions for round two. Also, tonight's show, we start to turn the page. NFL fantasy playoffs are right around the corner. We're going to start with some best balls tonight on Underdog. Jump in a couple mitten drafts, have a lot of fun. There's 6-man drafts that go very quickly. Hopefully you'll join us for a draft or two. Jump in the draft streets, jump in the chat. We're here all night for you. Maybe.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.
Welcome into another episode of Another Damn Fantasy Podcast. ADP, as always, is powered by Bite Size Sports. My round one of the playoffs was up and down, depending on the league, of course. But I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Jocelyn Massan. I'm interested to hear how your round one of the fantasy playoffs went.
Ooh, rough. Rough is the only way to describe it. So I hope we get brownie points for at least getting to the playoffs because the dream died pretty quick. We'll talk about our ADP matchup that'll go down in the annals of history.
It was great.
It was a great matchup. But then in one of my other big leagues that I care kind of more about than certain other leagues, I got Josh Allen, quite frankly. Getting outscored in the quarterback department by 25 points is tough. And so a couple other guys didn't quite hit, and so it goes. You work all the way to get there, and then it ends so quickly. So if you're still in the playoffs, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, don't take it for granted.
It's such a thing, like all season long, whether it's on here, whether I'm talking to people, I'm always telling, like, just get into the playoffs. It's 1 week. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen in week 15. You have no idea that, after an 86-point game a week ago, that Josh Allen is now going to help another 80-plus point game happen and fantasy goodness all over the place. And
Yep.
like you just never know what's going to happen once you're into those playoffs. And man, as I mentioned, didn't quite go well for me either. We'll talk a little bit about that on the biggest losses of the week. But let's just jump right into this thing, right? Like, before we get into our quick reactions, let me share my screen and let's just talk about ADP.
Let's do it.
So last week in round one, Josh and I are going head to head here. We are, see if I can get this a little bit larger. I'm on the wrong thing, I think. So give me 1 second.
Fair enough.
Where am I at? I want to go to Game Center, right? Oh, here we go. All right, so Josh and I were head to head, and as you can see, I pulled it off by less than 3 points. Pretty awesome. But here's the real thing, and I see that your tagline says it right there. Sincere McCormick, man.
Yes.
You've got this thing in the bag going into Monday Night Football. This is over. Like, I've already kind of just moved on. And then Sincere happens. What was going through your mind when you see Sincere go down, thinking, wow, I need 3 more points?
Well, my first thing is I want to do away with the probability of winning. I try to tell myself.
What was it? You probably know. I did not see what it was.
Going into the Monday night games, it was like 68-32.
Man.
Sleeper was telling me, and so I was trying desperately not to get overconfident because I was like, I mean, if I get 10 points from McCormick, 15 points, 16 points from Bijan, like super realistic numbers. I got this. Yep. And Bijan had a good game. He got kept out of the end zone, which obviously was a big deal. And, Sincere McCormick goes down. That's just unfortunate. That's fantasy, right? Injuries happen at very inopportune times. And
yes.
I think McCormick himself tweeted out something. I think he's done for the season. I think it was something like he'll see
him
year.
And Max Crosby. Not that that's fantasy relevant.
Not that your Raiders guys were supposed to lead you, but I was so proud of myself because my guy Tyrone Tracy, who I'm always tempted to start, did just as terrible, and he played the whole game. And I resisted the urge to start my guy Tyrone Tracy, so I was feeling great going into Monday night. I was like, I'm going to do it. The 6 seed's going to upset the 3 seed, feeling awesome. Xavier Worthy got me a touchdown. That was the guy I was worried about underperforming, and he did great. Shakir gets in the end zone again. Like, I mean, Chuba Hubbard kind of let me down a little bit too from his standard.
Worst games.
Yep, that's one of my losses this week because I have Hubbard in another couple leagues, and he's been so good consistently being above 12 to 15 points, and to not even get to 10 was a pretty big dagger as well. But no, the injury you can't mess around with. I don't want to pile on my guy Kirk Cousins, but if I'm mad at anybody after this loss, because I'm not mad at McCormick for getting hurt, that happens. Naturally watching, I was watching my Vikes play the Bears, but that was kind of a snooze fest because the Bears just they can't do anything right now. And so on my phone, I had the Falcons Raiders game. I was just watching for my fantasy guys. And so it was like watching film for Bijan Robinson, because every time the Falcons hiked the ball, I was like, Kirk, there he is. Bijan's right over there. He's wide open. That's 1.6 points every time for me. All you got to do is out there. I get the reception. I get 6 yards, and he kept ignoring him, trying to go over the middle to no avail. And it was real annoying. So
1 catch on 2 targets.
Right. That was the big bummer, because it wasn't even like Algier vulturing a touchdown or anything like that. Like, Bijan did his thing. He got 22 carries. Like, I just needed to get like 2 or 3 more catches. Even on that last drive when the Raiders kind of scored and made it a game, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get a little bit more yardage here? So I watched till the end. It was exciting, and that's why we play, right? It was fun.
Yeah,
It was competitive, but yeah, just fell short with the injury. So I was definitely in tune to it because I was pretty confident. So, but there was an epic matchup, and I think you had your Chiefs really came through for you though, right? It was
the defense. I picked them up. I mean, it was against Jameis Winston. I didn't even care. They could have gave her 35 points and still had a decent day on defense. But yeah, 5 sacks, 3 fumbles, 2 recoveries. Like, it was pretty great there. Going back to last Wednesday in our show, my biggest decision all day on Thursday, I put a poll up on Twitter just to kind of get a feel, was Isaac Guerendo. Do we start Isaac Guerendo? I end up sitting him for Brian Robinson, and Robinson gets 11.7, Guerendo gets 11.5. It actually didn't even matter in the end. Like they both did the same. I did not start Devontae Smith. Smith hasn't done a dang thing all year. Yeah. He goes off, so that would have hurt. But ultimately, I pull it out, get the dub, and now I get to go from 2024 co-host to facing off against my 2023 co-host.
Ooh, let's look at that matchup.
So we get to go. Dan is of course running out Josh Allen, so that kind of sucks already. Saquon against Washington. Connor's got the best running back matchup that you can ever have. McConkey tomorrow night.
Super Cup's not going to get 0 points again, probably like last week.
No, they'll probably actually extra feed him this week.
Right.
So he doesn't really have much on his bench. So this will be I'll have to kind of thread the needle, I think, a little bit on this one. Need to find a little bit of tight end action, and I got to decide on these running backs and wide receivers. You know, Calvin Ridley now, as we'll get to, has Mason Rudolph throw into him. Like, do I really trust that? So we'll kind of I'll have to thread the needle, I think, a little bit on this one. And
Marvin Harrison's been disappointing as well, which is a bummer. You know that on any given week it could really click for him and the Cardinals, and he could do like what Devontae Smith did on your bench. Like, I don't judge you at all for sitting Devontae Smith. I wouldn't have started him either. He's been completely non-existent, and then he goes off. So it's just a really.
I mean, I had Ridley against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's. I mean, you're not going to play a wide receiver against Cincinnati.
Oh, for sure.
The Cardinals were in a plus matchup. T. Higgins went off, so that was the right move. It was just, it was there. It just wasn't,
right.
Maybe I just put Gibbs at running back and put Smith in the flex, but the 3 wide receivers I played over him didn't feel bad last week. But now this week we'll have to kind of figure that out and thread the needle. Probably have to play Smith because it's against Washington. That defense is pretty trash. Yeah. And then I got another decision: Kyler Murray versus Jane Daniels this week. Philadelphia's got a great defense. Going to have to make that decision. So
Yep.
It'll be a fun week. We just want to recap the ADP league a little bit since we did face off against each other. Nate is in the chat. What is up, Nate? Malort shots if you make the finals. Let's do it, buddy. Let's do it all together. Appreciate you being here with us. If you are here with us, as always, jump in the chat. Let us know if you had any start-sit questions for round 2. Hopefully, you'll join us for a couple drafts here later on Underdog, as we will get to that after we kind of recap Week 15 and kind of look forward to Week 16 and then look forward into the playoffs. But if you are here with us today, we want to just shout out. If you want to support the show, we want to support Bite Size Sports, we have an opportunity for you to do that. And it's just to Venmo Bite Size Sports. It's at Bite Size Sports. That'll help ADP grow. That'll help Bite Size Sports grow. If you feel inclined, please scan it or find us on Venmo at Bite Size Sports. If you put ADP in the comments, it will support our show specifically. So appreciate anyone who is willing and able to support Bite Size Sports there. Josh, quick reaction from Week 15.
Yeah, I think I'm going to step on your toes a little bit here, but Josh Allen's performance is, again, just, insanity. 2 rushing touchdowns to start that game against Detroit. Anyone who betted the over was just loving life in that game, too. That was quickly clear that it was going to go over for the point. So it was a fun matchup, but he's just doing insane things. And so, as someone who's eliminated now in a lot of my leagues, I'm looking at next year. Like, I wonder if there's any sort of separation that maybe adjusts his ADP down the road, like going into next year. I don't know. 'Cause I know some people were probably taking him late second round. I can't remember where he went in the ADP league, but Dan got him and Saquon Barkley. So I know that, that's a nice set of first couple pick, or maybe probably pick 2 and 3 for him actually. But it's just, it's crazy that the numbers he's putting up. And it's pretty wild. So I don't know, that's the thing that's stuck in my head. Other quick reactions. I'm feeling really bad for Devontae Adams. I don't have a lot of love lost for Aaron Rodgers as a Vikings fan, but seeing him go off as well this week and seeing that kind of click again kind of makes us wish, like, just as general football fans, kind of a bummer that the Jets are irrelevant, because I think starting this year, imagine if that had happened with their defense and they started the year that way. And I know he hasn't been there the whole year, all that, but you look at a guy like Devontae Adams who's done it for this long, and he's one of those guys that outside of your favorite team, you kind of root for him to have some success. And so kudos to anyone that started him in fantasy, right, and trusted that offense, and it's good to see him go off. But in a meaningless game, it's kind of unfortunate, because you just don't know how many years those guys have left, right? We see for receivers, especially at his age, you just wonder how much more Devontae Adams will get to see. So it was good on him. It was a fun week for him, but kind of a bummer that the game was pretty meaningless for them. So, and that's not necessarily fantasy related, I guess, but that's just.
I wouldn't be surprised though to see that again this week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I get it that the Jets, they definitely, they don't have a lot to play for, but I think Aaron Rodgers has, at least listening to him on the Pat McAfee show, he hasn't counted out playing next year. So I think he has a lot to play for. He's playing to show everybody he can still play. I think Devontae Adams is, whether he's in New York or somewhere else, he's playing for another contract for next year. I think that and this defense is just horrid now. They are actually bad.
Yeah, they're not.
They like the last couple weeks, they've just really just fallen off. So I just say that to say, obviously, I think you can still trust, Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. I don't know about Breece Hall and his usage. And starting Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs wouldn't feel great, but Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, I think that I would be pretty confident in their abilities this weekend as well.
Yeah, Breece Hall had 9 carries only.
That's weird.
I didn't see
what's
any.
Going on with them.
I didn't see any injury story or any drama or anything, so I don't know what the deal is either. But yeah, if you're a Breece Hall owner, pay close attention to that. Whatever is going on there.
Yeah, well, mine, I added a couple names on here as well. Baker Mayfield continues to just prove us all wrong.
Yeah.
Week after week against a really tough Chargers defense.
Yep.
I was very, very surprised at Baker. And then Lamar throws 5 touchdowns, man. My best ball team in Bestball Mania, I am feeling phenomenal. I've got Lamar to Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman hasn't really done much all year long. Gets me the 2 tutties. I am legitimately feeling like I've got this thing. I'm looking at all the teams, looking at Lamar. They're all behind me. None of them have Bateman and his 23 points. And then down here in 6th place is this Josh Allen team who ends up beating me. I'm going to talk about that even more here in a second. But Lamar throws 5 touchdowns and nobody's talking about him.
Yeah.
And Baker goes off puts up 40 points for the Bucs and nobody's talking about it. And it's all because Josh Allen just continues this insane heater that he's on, man. It is ridiculous what Josh Allen is putting out there right now on the football field. He is literally carrying this team on his back over the last couple of weeks. It's simply amazing. Unfortunately, one of my season-long teams did not make it past round 1, even with Josh Allen, as the other guy had Baker Mayfield. Like, it's like, come on, man. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, imagine.
Let's talk about go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I'm just looking at the Lamar numbers because, like you said, like everyone's been focusing on Josh Allen. He had 5 touchdowns. He only threw the ball 25 times. That's a ridiculous percentage or touchdown percentage. Yep. 21 completions, 5 touchdowns. That's wild.
I forgot. I also had Justice Hill on that team.
Oh, there you go.
So we're driving. We're driving to. I'm just going to talk about my biggest loss of the week already. I'm just going to skip over there. We're driving a 4-hour trip on vacation. We take a little quick vacation Sunday through Tuesday.
Okay.
And so we're driving. It's obviously middle of the afternoon, trying to drive during nap time so the kids sleep a little bit. And I've turned it over to the Baltimore game on Sirius XM. The Chiefs are kind of rolling. I think they've got the ball. They're kneeling it. So I turn it over or whatever was going on. And I hear he's open across the middle, Justice Hill. And I was like, oh my God, I also have Justice Hill. I was so pumped. So this team is going to make it through to the second round of the Best Ball Mania, the largest best ball tournament you can play in.
Right.
The biggest money at the top. And I ended up coming down. I needed 15 points from either Kyle Pitts or Tyler Algier, or Cam Akers. One of those guys I needed 15 points from on Monday night in order to advance. Cam Akers, dude, scores the touchdown. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. They're up big. He just got an entire series.
Yep.
Like maybe. And then the next series, Aaron Jones was back in the game. I'm like, oh man, like it was so tilty because I'm like, wait, maybe they're just gonna sit Aaron Jones the rest of the game.
Right.
Maybe Cam Akers can actually get this. He's at like 9 at this point. All he needs is kind of another touchdown.
Right.
It didn't happen. So.
Oh, that's tough. That is.
It was a very, very tilting Monday night. So that was my loss of the week. Let you talk about your loss of the week, and then we'll go back to the positive stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so my loss, I lost 2 of my major first round matchups, and I was feeling pretty good about my start sits. I already mentioned at the start when we were talking about the ADP, like I resisted the urge to start my guy Tyrone Tracy because he had the tough matchup against the Ravens, and the Giants are terrible. And so that all worked out well. And I wouldn't call McCormick a loss. It's just an unfortunate injury. But we talked to him about it briefly. Chuba Hubbard was the biggest loss of the week. That was just a huge bummer. Sadly, Jonathan Brooks goes down, so he's back to being the top guy. And, they were going up against Dallas, who hadn't exactly been a defensive juggernaut. I thought for sure Chuba Hubbard was in at a floor of 15 points. I started him in multiple leagues and in a couple DFS lineups, and he was just a huge dud. So that was my biggest loss from an individual standpoint. We talked about losing the matchups a little bit, but in terms of who I started, too much Chuba Hubbard last week for a guy that had been so consistent. I guess it had to come to an end at some point, and unfortunately, it was in playoff time. So,
yeah, tough times there. It's kind of like Cooper Kupp flipping 0, like that sucked last week.
Yeah.
Terrible way to start the week. Just with all the fantasy goodness, all the scoring that happens over the last couple weeks, and then you get a big old goose egg.
Yeah.
From Cooper Cup. My biggest win of the week, I'll go right back to best ball since we're going to do some playoff best ball here in a little bit. I'll talk a little bit. I did sneak 3 best ball teams through to the second round. Most of them are small field stuff where 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 8, something like that, are advancing. So looking forward to sweating those 3 teams out. One's a Lamar team. One's a Josh Allen team. I forget the other one's a super flex team, so I forget exactly who was on that one as well. So I have 1 super flex, 1 regular, and then 1 resurgence. So there we are. I got 1 of each going on. So we will see how that goes this week. What is your biggest win of the week?
Yeah. So biggest win is Brian Thomas Jr., monster game, wide receiver 4. And just more importantly, just the ability to do it on an offense that has not been great at all. I mean, we talked about the Jets, they kind of fallen off defensively, but in terms of if anyone's still in and you have Brian Thomas Jr., you might have gotten him pretty late. I mean, he had 14 targets last week, 12 the week before that, 10 the week before that. Like, he's just like the offense in Jacksonville, and it's really cool to see. And it kind of reminds us like the rookie wide receivers are definitely a thing. Some of the top guys, they come in, there doesn't seem to be a huge growing period. Of course, it's weird with Marvin Harrison. Sometimes we feel like he should be doing a lot more, but yeah, the biggest win was, in the game I was going up against Josh Allen. To even keep it close, I needed to have some big games, and Brian Thomas Jr. came up huge for me. I had him in my wide receiver 1 slot, actually, because George Pickens was out, and he's my next best guy in that league. So honestly, he's better than Pickens right now, obviously, but tough matchup. It's hard to trust Jags skill players, but definitely a big win there. And then I think I mentioned it earlier, just being able to sit Tyrone Tracy against my own personal biases was important. I know people that watch this every week are probably sick of me talking about Tyrone Tracy, so I won't go into depth there. But and then I did have to do this is a bonus one. I did start Isaac Guerrero in a league. I really needed that upside, and I'm not going to call it a win because he only had 11.5 points, but he made it through the game and he had a respectable showing. And that stuff is scary on a Thursday night in the playoffs that because I also sat Bucky Irving in a league and he also had a good game too. But, reports about him, his back was tightening up. I was like, I can't trust Bucky Irving with a tight back right now. And he was supposed to be one of my league winners because I think he still can be if you have him in a league as well. So anyway, had a few good starts. I think I showed out well in the playoffs, even though I lost my matchups. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, the playoffs, as we mentioned at the top, just you never know. 1 week, random.
Right.
See what happens. Hopefully it goes your way. If you're here with us tonight, we greatly appreciate it, and we will answer any start-sit questions. Actually, White Boy Rick is back. Thanks for coming back and seeing us, man. Who would y'all play? He says he has Brees, James Cook, Bucky, Guerrero. He needs 2 running backs and a flex. We kind of just mentioned how Brees only had those 9 touches this past week. A little bit scared of the Brees stuff right now, personally, although I think he's ultra talented.
Yeah.
Very talented. James Cook, up and down. When he hits big, but there's also been some games that he hasn't hit big. I think he is a must. You have to put him in. I really think that Brees feels like a must start, but I think it's more about his name than anything. Like I'm really thinking this, like I have Brees Hall, I have to start him. The usage just has not been there. This Rams defense will give it up through the air. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. And so I would lean, if Bucky is healthy, I would lean Bucky and Guerrero and probably go ahead and just bite the bullet and sit Brees Hall. But my guess is at the end of the day, Bucky's going to be the odd man out just because I don't really think he's fully healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the big kicker here. I think fully healthy. I think this is an easy one for me. I think you sit Brees Hall, even though it's weird because he probably was the first guy you drafted out of these 4 for sure. James Cook has to start at this point. You're always worried about a random dud, but James Cook has to be in there. I think Bucky's home run ability and Garendo, part of that San Francisco offense that, hasn't been particularly fantastic, but still has that potential. I feel if Irving and Garendo are both healthy, I feel perfectly fine sitting Brees and starting those other three. But I would really monitor the health situation. Bucky's has been weird. Last week he played through it. The week before he left after 2.8 fantasy points. And so, take a look at your matchup as well. And because the Rams aren't particularly great on defense. And so I think it's okay to start Brees over a Bucky Irving, especially if you're worried about injury, but check the injuries. But otherwise, those Cook, Irving, and Garendo is a great running back trio, I think.
Yeah. You did well with your running backs there.
Yeah.
But also Bucky against the Cowboys. Like I know we just talked about Hubbard not having a great time, but we're not worried about that.
Yeah.
We're not worried about these Cowboys. I guess who is the 49ers playing? I don't even pull it
up. They have the Dolphins, I believe.
So you're not really worried about that matchup either. So, I mean, Garendo coming in and giving us 11.5 points last week. He was still getting the rock most of the time.
Yep.
And he was hurt. Like, yeah, I agree. I think we're going to go Cook, Bucky, and Garendo on that one. White boy, yep. Rick, thank you for being – oh, yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think you're wrong. And I think that we kind of talked about Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams at the top of the show, and I think they have a lot to prove, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers really cares about getting the young guy his opportunities. I think he cares about showing off what he still has in that arm of his. So, Rick coming back here, 2 wide receivers. I have JJ, Neighbors, and Wilson. Think I'm going to sit Wilson. Man. So if this is the same league, I'm probably, if I can play one of these wide receivers in the flex, and I don't know the scoring of the league, obviously.
Right.
But if I can play one of these wide receivers in the flex, I'm probably going to go ahead and play these 3 wide receivers. And at that point, I would sit Isaac Garendo. And I would play Cook and Bucky, and then these 3 wide receivers. But if you're not going to do that, and you don't want to do that, that's 100% fine. It's your team. You're managing it. Out of these 3, I would go JJ, and I would probably go Garrett Wilson, mostly because I'm just not sure what we're going to get out of Drew Lock. It sounds like that's who it's going to be this week. Neighbors is going to get his probably, but that kind of scares me. There's a bunch of quarterbacks here that are going to be replaced this week. So, but we know what Garrett Wilson is with Aaron Rodgers, and we know Garrett Wilson can get his as well. So I would probably just take the safer plays in JJ and Wilson over Neighbors. That's just my take. What about you?
Yeah, I'm torn between. I mean, you're starting JJ for sure. I'm very torn between Neighbors and Wilson. I think, from an offensive standpoint and a quarterback standpoint, it makes me want to lean Wilson. But, Neighbors has 14 targets, 10 targets, 13 targets, past 3 games. And he's been proving to do decently and actually pretty well with some terrible quarterback play as well. The Giants have the Falcons. I think the Falcons defense a little bit misleading against the Desmond Ridder Raiders from last week. So I might go Neighbors here with the volume. And then, so I think I would go Jefferson and Neighbors. It's very close. I would never judge anyone for starting Wilson over one of them. And I think, like you said, when you're looking at the running backs, I still believe that Garendo with that 49ers offense has a chance for some bigger upside. And so that might be like what you're talking about. If it's the same league, if you're looking at your matchup, if you're going up against the Josh Allen or something, right, you need to put up points. I might go Garendo over Wilson too, but yeah, you have a lot of good options there. This is the problem you want to have, right? Like guys that you want to start, not guys that you have to start. I think just for the wide receiver question, I would go Jefferson and Neighbors personally, but it's very close, and I like Wilson a lot too. So,
yeah, good team there. There's a reason you're still playing in round 2 of the fantasy playoffs. That is for sure. Lee here in the chat. What's up, Lee? Hopefully, if you're on Underdog, jump into these drafts with us here in a little bit. I would enjoy drafting against you, Lee. I know we've done it against each other in the past, so hopefully you're here. But he says 2 start sits: Jonnu, Dalton, Shakir, or Flowers. Same team with Allen as his quarterback. So Jonnu, Dalton, Shakir, or Flowers. He has to start two.
I'm assuming
I'll let you go first.
pick a tight end, pick a receiver, right? I kind of
that's what I was going to be doing. So
okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna go. Ooh, the Dolphins have the Niners. Because my gut instinct said right away go Jonnu Smith, but he had was it the Houston game? Was it last week where he had to get to overtime to get a lot of his targets? Wasn't that the weird game where he did?
That was a couple weeks
ago.
That
was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was a couple weeks ago. Never mind. So he had
a big fat 0, and then they went to overtime. And
that's right.
Went off.
Yeah, he had 11 targets last week. I think I'm going to still go Jonnu Smith, and then I really like Khalil Shakir. He's starting to find the end zone as Josh Allen's QB1, and then I don't like the idea of having Kincaid, Shakir, and Josh Allen all three Bills just in case. So I like the consistency. Jonnu Smith at tight end, and then I'll go Khalil Shakir. The Ravens Steelers matchup, very well could have. Flowers could have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns even against that defense. But I think the floor with Zay Flowers is a lot lower. I'm leaning Shakir, who's been consistent from a receptions and yardage, and now is starting to find the end zone again. Plus Jonnu Smith, I like those two personally. But
yeah, this Bills offense has been humming, obviously, lately. And the one thing that they didn't have about mid-season was Khalil Shakir. He had missed a couple of games there for them, and he's been back and healthy, and this offense is definitely different with him on the field. I like Khalil Shakir. The problem with Zay Flowers, not that he's unstartable by any means, it's just the Ravens all season long, they just kind of spread the ball around, and when they find what's working, they stick with it, right? Like last week it was Bateman.
Yep.
We've seen Isaiah Likely have the big games before, Mark Andrews. So they kind of take their turn on who's going to have the ceiling outcome games, which is great if you can find the right one for Zay Flowers. Yeah. But definitely you're kind of just throwing darts at that point. So I like Jonnu and I like Shakir.
Yeah, and if Lamar Jackson isn't going to throw more than 25 passes, right? Like that's a possibility too. That hurts Zay Flowers' floor as well. Where Josh Allen and Tua are gonna at least get 32, 33 attempts.
Man,
likely, so
that Baltimore defense has just been like the best thing for fantasy football this year. Like bringing in, like pushing Lamar to play even better. And
yep.
He's been kind of going off, and you got this like back and forth between him and Josh Allen, like who deserves to be the MVP. And like both of these defenses are just kind of Baltimore's giving it up all year. The Bills over the last couple of weeks have just been giving it up. It's kind of been fun to watch. That's for sure.
That's what we want in fantasy points.
We love it for fantasy. We love it. So hopefully we helped you guys out there. If you have start-sit questions, throw them in the chat. That is why we are here every Wednesday night helping you win your fantasy football leagues. I'm just going to hit these real fast. If you don't know this already, Jameis was benched for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Will Levis was benched for Mason Rudolph. Kirk Cousins has now been benched for Michael Penix Jr. Any of these stand out to be the worst for the fantasy relevant playmakers in your opinion?
Worse? I think
like which one of these is like, if you've got say Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, Calvin Ridley, like which one of these benchings probably hurts you the worst?
I think hurts you the worst is going to be DTR. I don't think we've seen Dorian Thompson-Robinson throw very well at all. He had some fun, exciting moments in his rookie year in the preseason, but then after that, it hasn't been pretty, and he does have a penchant for running. So I think if I'm a Jeudy owner, I'm looking at my full roster, checking the waiver wire, just making sure before I'm starting him. I might still start him, but I'm very nervous about it in Cleveland, because the one thing Jameis always did for you is he threw it a million times, and so you're going to get some production out of your pass catcher in Cleveland. I actually kind of like the Mason Rudolph for Will Levis. I think Calvin Ridley is in play this week. I think that Will Levis I think is better for the deep shots, but I think for some more consistency, I think Calvin Ridley and a better overall moving offense, I think I like Mason Rudolph for Calvin Ridley. And I actually, at first I was like, well, Falcons pass catchers have to go downhill. It's a rookie quarterback, first ever start, and you have You know, you have no frame of reference for him. They're going to run the ball with Bijan. They have the Giants, so they should be able to run all over the Giants, right? But then you look at, Drake London had a touchdown even on Monday night, and Kirk Cousins has like 1 touchdown and like 7 interceptions this past few games or so. I heard that stat. It might be adjusted at this point, but Cousins has been terrible. So honestly, maybe it is an upgrade for Michael Penix. So I think the worst hit is for sure going to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I'm nervous about the Falcons pass catchers. I'm still starting Drake London if I have him. It's hard to sit Darnell Mooney, but I would consider sitting Darnell Mooney. I don't think anyone was really considering Pitts anyway, so I would obviously leave Pitts on the bench. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is a Bijan game, and this is a Michael Penix, which there's a lot of good scripted passing plays that are easy throws, maybe, but also, I mean, Penix he throws a great deep ball if his college game is any indicator, and he's not the most mobile guy, but he's not scared in the pocket either, and he can definitely move around a little bit in there. So if they turn him loose, I mean, you could be looking at actually an upgrade in Atlanta. So it's hard for this first game to be in the playoffs for you in fantasy wise. So but I think you have to start Drake London, and unless you're in a 3 receiver league, I would probably still consider Mooney at least at flex. In a 2 receiver league, I might look at moving on from Mooney, but yeah, it's hard to tell.
If you're only playing 2 receivers, he's probably not hitting there. But I think Mooney's flex worthy. At least it points out that he says Penix likes Darnell Mooney. They probably got a lot of action together in the preseason and whatnot. So, there for a while, Darnell Mooney was actually playing second fiddle. The guy who tore his ACL, I remember exactly which no-name wide receiver was supposed to have a resurgent year this year. It wasn't supposed to be Mooney. They had a different guy who tore his ACL, and then Mooney became the guy. So Penix probably had quite a bit of run with him in the preseason, anyways.
Oh, are you thinking of Rondale Moore? Is that who it is?
Yeah. Rondale Moore was supposed to have like a resurgence, with Atlanta, tears his ACL. So, John in the chat here with us tonight. Thanks for jumping in. Lost the playoffs by single digits because of a meaningless Devontae legacy game. I am despondent. That's literally fantasy. Like, that's fantasy football. That's why we play the game. It's tilting. It keeps us on edge, and it gives us a little bit of something to root for. So we feel you. We feel you there. If you miss it at the top, Josh lost because Sincere McCormick got hurt, and also because Kirk Cousins would not just dump the ball off to Bijan a couple times. So
Bijan's the best athlete in most games. He's such a good player. They should be feeding him like 40 times a game. I mean, that would probably
just constantly, right?
Run him to the injury, but I don't know how you don't give him the ball every second play. Honestly, he's such an athlete.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the NFL playoffs. So we're gonna gear up for some NFL, some best ball here on Underdog. So if you're with us and you like best ball, you play on Underdog. This is the perfect time for you to really listen in, and hopefully you get a lot out of this. We will be doing some drafts, but I kind of like to think about my best ball teams in the playoffs. Obviously, if you're doing a lot of best ball teams for the playoffs, you got to diversify. You can't draft 20 Lions versus Chiefs in the Super Bowl teams. Like, the NFL's wacky.
Weird,
like we've seen 6-7 seeds go far in the playoffs, those kind of things. So you can't draft everything. But what I do like to think through is, what could my Super Bowl, team be here if I am putting this draft together? So I want to pull up the playoffs first, or the standings first. And let's kind of just talk about like a little bit of playoffs, NFL playoffs here. Who do you think, who are your, hit the wrong button. Who are your who's your favorite team to kind of make a run in these playoffs?
So I kind of have, generally speaking, in the AFC, I think the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens are my 3 teams that I think are legitimately a tier above, your Chargers, Broncos, Texans, whoever else squeaks in there. So I'm looking at, I'm looking at the Bills to make a run. I'm looking at the Chiefs to be in it for a long time. You know, they're in position to get the 1 seed bye again, but I can't imagine them they not get to the AFC Championship game again. And you already alluded to Lamar Jackson his year. Like, Baltimore is still one of the best teams in my opinion from a talent standpoint and from an ability standpoint. So I think that out of the AFC, the Bills, Chiefs, or Ravens, neither of those three would surprise me. The other teams, what I'm saying is the other teams I wouldn't really look too much into. I will say, while we're on the topic of the AFC, I did a best ball draft earlier, and my last pick, I almost took Jamar Chase because it was just, it was a 10-round draft. There's a 6-team league.
They're lingering.
Yeah, and I was like, they're 6-8, and it's really, really unlikely, even if they win out, that they get in, I think. So, but I was tempted because I think if the Bengals made it to the playoffs, I think they would honestly give some of these higher teams a little bit more of a scare than some of the teams that are already in playoff positioning. The Broncos have been a nice story, but they still don't scare me, which probably means they'll make it to the AFC Championship game somehow. But I'm not thinking about them too much. So I'm looking at Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, stacks that make sense, stacks that I like from a draft or from an ADP standpoint, depending on who I'm drafting with. On the NFC side, I think the Lions have proven they're the favorite. But the Philadelphia Eagles obviously could be there. My Vikings have shown that they can run. And honestly, I don't want to admit it, but the Packers are a team that is also in the mix there. And then if you're someone who believes in rookie heroics, I mean, I don't think it would surprise me too much if the Commanders get in and Jaden Daniels gets on a little heater and just kind of takes over. So I think it's a little bit more wide open in the NFC. But there's still plenty of teams to pick from there, I think. My gut tells me it's like Buffalo, Detroit, or Kansas City, Detroit, like probably a lot of people, but
right.
Because the Ravens have been close for so long, they just seem like they're always going to find a way to shoot themselves in the foot. So it's hard to really advocate for them. I don't know. But yeah, so I those are some of the matchups some of the teams that I think will at least get 2 games, right? In my head, I'm thinking if I can get a team that for sure has 2 games, that's pretty good fantasy wise. Even your 1 seed's only going to get 2 games most likely unless they get to the Super Bowl as well. So it's
right.
You kind of have to think about that. But
for me, I like the NFC side. I like the Rams and Bucks. I think they're super cheap in these drafts right now. The Bucks are starting to get up there a little bit more, especially now. I think that Atlanta has turned over to Penix. I think that people are going to just assume the Falcons lose. Yep. So I like the Rams. I like them a little better when they weren't in the playoffs, but they were kind of lingering a little bit because I do think they can win this division.
Yep.
But I'm a little worried. I'm not really clicking the Commanders right now in best ball drafts because they play the Eagles this week. They've got a kind of a tough go here over the next 3 weeks. And these teams are right. Like the Seahawks, obviously 1 game out. The Falcons and Cardinals. The Falcons have a game actually against the Commanders next week, so that could play a huge part in this wild card race here. So I don't see the Buccaneers have 3 easy games. They should win them out and kind of block out the Falcons. So the Falcons are looking at a game against the Giants this week and then a huge game against the Commanders next week. So just the Commanders are the team that kind of scares me right now, that I just find it a little bit hard to click. Plus, they don't have a lot of weapons outside of Jaden Daniels. I mean, who am I stacking him with? Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Zach Ertz, I guess. It's just not a lot of it's not fun to stack the Commanders. You're not going to want to hear this, but the Green Bay Packers are still, for me, the team to beat. I think Detroit's defense, 27 players on the IR.
Yeah,
it's going to catch up to them eventually.
They're so banged up.
I really believe that. I think it's going to catch up to them eventually. I think the Packers are really good. We saw what Jordan Love could do in the playoffs last year, going to San Francisco and beating them. I like this Green Bay Packers. I don't want to take anything away from the Lions, but now you lose Montgomery for the season. That's huge with the run game. Not that Gibbs can't do it all, but he hasn't had to ever do it all. So I worry about the Lions. I think they're fragile at the top. Kind of like the Chiefs are a little fragile at the top. Let's be honest. Their offensive line is still struggling. Now Mahomes has this ankle injury. Like that makes them a little bit fragile at the top.
Yep.
I like the Eagles. The Eagles defense is not struggling with anything. So that's kind of my take on the NFC. AFC wise, I think I don't see any of these guys. I don't mind the Cincinnati call. If Denver can beat the Chargers tomorrow night, I might just load up on drafts tomorrow night and just take just a shit ton of Miami or Cincy guys.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Because that now leaves the Chargers at 8-7, and you're just looking for. I mean, Cincy has to win out, but if Cincy wins out in that scenario, like you're just looking for one more loss from the Chargers to figure that. So I wouldn't mind doing that just to try to get ahead of it a little bit there and get some of those guys super cheap. So that's kind of my take on the playoffs there. We kind of talked about teams that we think could kind of sneak in. Let's before we start choosing Super Bowl matchups, and I see Lee in the chat, Lions probably won't get a 1 seed. They might not. We'll see. Rams and Bucks can beat the Lions. I agree with that. I think the Rams
it's possible.
The Rams went to Detroit last year in the wild card and lost to them, right? I think I remember that was the first ever win at home for the Lions, if I remember right. And it was Matthew Stafford, so that was a big deal. But I do believe that the Rams can go there. The Rams are much healthier than the Lions right now. So
the Rams are weird. I mean, they lost to the Lions at the beginning of the year, but they beat the Vikings. They beat the Bills. Like the Rams are 8-6, but some games they look like they're 14-3 team. It's a weird. They're a weird team. So yeah, I don't think anyone wants to play the Rams. They haven't done it consistently enough, but when they're on, they're on. It's tough to
have the ability. White Boy Rick says Ravens versus Eagles in the Super Bowl. These are things. So when we get to drafting here, these are kind of, for me anyways, that's kind of a strategy I like to take into play. And I'll be asking the chat for some of that. But Josh, what is your, and I'll pull Underdog up as you're talking here, but how do you attack these? There's six of us in the draft. They're 10-round drafts. You get 5 scores each round: quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers.
It's wide receiver or tight end. So that's a wide receiver
or tight end. And then 1 flex. So you essentially could have 2 running backs or 3 wide receivers / tight ends. But you have to have 1 quarterback. You have to have 1 running back at least. How are you attacking these drafts?
Yeah, so I do like a little stack where I can find one. I like matching a quarterback with a pass catcher if I can. I did one earlier. It didn't pan out how I would have liked to do it, but that is one thing I like to do. I think you have to be, at least for me, I want to have enough spread of teams from the AFC and the NFC, so I'm not immediately ruled out. And that's just kind of how it happens anyway, right? Because once the draft is going, you're going to see that certain guys aren't available, obviously, and you need to kind of pivot to certain guys anyway. I got the first overall pick in one I did earlier today, and I took Josh Allen. I thought that was a pretty easy pick. I almost got James Cook on the turn, which I would have really liked. The other thing I was going to mention tonight as you look at these teams is the teams that make deep playoff runs are teams that run the ball effectively. Not taking anything away from all the big receivers that are going to put up points and all that stuff, but the teams that are going to last long enough to put up those points are the teams that can run the ball. If you just look at yards per game, yards per attempt, percentage of rushing plays in a game, all these teams in the top 10 are perennial playoff teams, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Bills. And so I'm looking at teams that I know are going to be on the field offensively, which means they're going to win games, which means I'm getting at least 2 games out of those teams. So, I mentioned earlier, I took Josh Allen. I missed out on James Cook, but I took Isaiah Pacheco, and I took him a few picks earlier than he probably was value-wise. But, I'm looking at the Chiefs are probably going to get a game, at least 2 games, and, he killed it in the playoffs last year. So if he's getting that volume, I feel pretty good about that. you also kind of have to play the draft, and some things didn't happen the way I wanted to. I ended up, don't do this. I stepped away for 5 seconds, I thought, and I had to auto pick one, and I got George Pickens. So then I picked Najee Harris, and now in case the Steelers make a run, at least I have a little bit of a combo there. So I think that, that's not my favorite strategy. I'm not saying the Steelers offense is where I'm going to lean, but there's something to be said for having some guys that probably aren't going to get picked as much, right? Because I think the Steelers don't excite very many people in terms of making a deep run, but they have the defense, they have the pedigree, and you never know. So, and then I mentioned earlier, I like what you said about, seeing how the games go this week and then going to smash some lineups on, the Bengals. The Dolphins scare me a little bit just because they've always had really great offenses, and then the playoffs come around, they don't necessarily do it. But if if you think the Dolphins might squeak in, go get Devon Achane. He's getting 7-8 catches a game as a running back, and then tacking on some rushing ability. Like I mentioned earlier, I ended up taking who did I take? I didn't, in one of the drafted it earlier, I didn't have any Ravens. It just fell that way. So I took Isaiah Likely with my last pick because I knew I could get something from him, but I really wanted to take Jamar Chase. I was like, how nice would that be to get that Jamar Chase boost at like pick 60? It would have been the last pick of the draft. So you got to see how the draft is going. I did also I ended up taking Sam Darnold and Aaron Jones. I didn't like some of the value of the players that were available. I wasn't a big fan of taking a second quarterback though. So that's not a strategy I think I would latch onto for sure. But I knew if I was going to, I would take one from the other conference. So now I have that a little bit as well. But, in hindsight and generally speaking, if you get a guy like Josh Allen, I don't think you really want to go. It's not super flex, right? So you don't want to go use a pick on a quarterback if you can do another stack or another like ancillary player that will be on a team that might play 3 games. So even if he only gets 4 catches a game, he might contribute a little bit down the road. So I don't know. I don't know if I even gave a strategy there.
Yeah. Well, I would say that the one thing about the second quarterback, like if you're playing that for, say, the Bills get the first round bye, right? The Chiefs lose 2 games, and now the Bills have the first round bye. You have to have that second quarterback because Josh Allen isn't playing in the first round.
Right.
And I think what's important to note is one player is moving on. One team moves on out of the first round. And it's the first round of the NFL playoffs. So there's 6 games going to be played, and you have to have the best 5 players in your little pot of 6 drafters.
Right.
And so if you take, say, Patrick Mahomes, if you want to stack up the Chiefs, you still have to get out of the first pod to even play the Chiefs in round 2. And so you have to make sure you're kind of thinking through that. I wanted to pull up just a draft here that I did the other day. I like to go a Super Bowl team in one conference and then play 2 to 3 teams from the other conference. That's how I've kind of always approached it. You can approach it by saying, I want 2 teams that are going to be in the championship games against each other. There's a whole different bunch of ways you can attack it. I usually attack it. This team's making the Super Bowl. In this scenario, in this draft, that's how I'm playing it. Right. Here's 3 teams they could play. So in this draft, I took Jordan Love. I set it up because I knew, like, obviously I took him late, but I took my first 3 picks were all running backs. I took 3 AFC running backs. I went into this draft knowing I want to take Green Bay on the other side. They're super cheap right now, so that's what I wanted to do. I took Nico Collins with Joe Mixon for the Houston stuff, get my Jaden Reed, and then I tack on a Buffalo and a Baltimore guy. So I've got 2 Baltimore, 2 Buffalo, 2 Houston guys, and then I just have Jordan Love with Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wick. So I don't care who he throws it to. If Jordan Love is the one is in the Super Bowl, I have 3 options he could play. Yeah. And I'm going to be live with 5 guys playing in the Super Bowl. If you make it to the Super Bowl round, congratulations. But if you make it to the Super Bowl round and you don't have anybody playing in the Super Bowl, it's like you won $50, which is awesome.
Right.
But you didn't give yourself a chance at, let me show you the 50,000, right? Like that's, I mean, we have a 1 in 112,000 chance to get the 50,000. But if I'm going to make it to the Super Bowl round, I at least want to have 5 guys that are live to give me a chance to score points.
Right.
Because when you get to that final round, there are going to be teams that don't have 5 guys who are live. And you're already going to beat those teams if you can do that. So that's the way I always try to play, is try to get a Super Bowl contender on one side and a couple guys on the other to fill it in. So if you're here with us tonight, you want to draft, I'm going to jump into a draft right now. Josh, do you want to draft separately in the same, try to get in the same draft, or you just want to draft together on stream with my team, which is completely fine with me?
Yeah, let's draft together on your team. I think that's a good idea.
If you're in the chat and you want to try to sneak in the same draft, there's only 6, so it's a lot harder. When I do this with like Bestball Mania or the Mitten there's 12 of us, it's easier to get people from the chat to join us.
Right.
But I will try to time it up. I like to show you all when I'm going to hit confirm. So let's jump in the chat, or let's jump into the draft right now. And if you want to draft with us, hopefully you get in here. Would love to see some similar names in there. Oh my goodness. This happens to me every time. I'll do it on my phone and then it'll be fine.
There you go.
All right. I do that every single time. I have all my permissions are there and it just won't do it. So let me try this again. Hopefully you didn't hit submit. If you did, my apologies. I am going to hit submit right now though, and actually jump into a real draft. There's still 3 more here. So if you want to jump into a Mitten, jump in now, and you can join us as we wait for a couple more people to start. 5 of the 6 are filled. So we got 1 more. If you want to try now. I like the one, like if you get the 101, you have to take Josh Allen, right? Like, is there any argument for anybody else?
I was just going to ask you the same question, because I don't think there can be at this point. The advantage he offers you is so much bigger than any other. You know, I guess there's maybe a temptation with Saquon Barkley and how well the Eagles have been playing, but you can't. I don't think you can pass up that production.
Okay, really. So we're gonna have the 102. So let's just say Sager takes. If you're in the chat and you joined us, let us know in the chat. Throw it in the chat. I would love to know. Even if you're just like watching the stream to try to get like positive EV because you're trying to play against us who are not very good, like great. Just let me know in the chat. Tell us in the chat you're playing. Sager goes Josh Allen. We've got 30 seconds to think about this. So Sager goes Josh Allen. Do we feel like we have to push quarterback immediately? Because you're not going to get Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, probably not, maybe Patrick Mahomes, but probably not even Patrick Mahomes. So you're really punting at quarterback if you don't take him.
Yeah.
Or would you rather just take one of these top running backs?
I mean, I think there's an argument for the running backs as always, especially those 2 guys, especially with Montgomery out. I mean, Gibbs could be in line for even more work. That's pretty tempting. I think the argument is quarterback's very important, and you have Jalen Hurts who does get those close yardage touchdown attempts over Barkley sometimes. So, I don't know. He does. Okay, so he does go Allen. Yeah, my gut tells me Hurts, but I could be talked into either. It's your final call, Trev. What do you think?
I hate running backs, so let's go Jalen Hurts, and let's see if we can build up. I think we can get AJ Brown. I doubt he'll fall back to us. We'll definitely be able to get Devonta Smith though.
Yep.
And White Boy Rick said Ravens versus Eagles in the Super Bowl. So let's try to build.
Oh, there you go.
Let's definitely build an Eagles Super Bowl. Now, the problem, or maybe not a problem, but the thing we have to think about now is the Eagles may get that bye now.
Yeah. Yep.
They may get the bye. So that might make it a little trickier, and we might need to throw a quarterback on here at the very end just to cover.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll find an AFC quarterback, or Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, something like that, just to kind of get that first round. But let's build an Eagles Super Bowl.
Is CJ Stroud going to be gone when we're trying to come back with a second quarterback? Probably.
It just depends on when we want to. I'm not even in the actual draft. That's amazing. It just depends on when we actually want to do it. Oh yeah, we definitely got to try to build up a Vikes Chiefs Super Bowl matchup here.
Well, because we need
a
rematch from when you guys cheated in the 60s or 70s. I can't remember. You guys had Gatorade.
Super Bowl 4?
Yeah, you guys had Gatorade on the sidelines. We had water. It was an unfair advantage.
Gatorade's better.
That's right.
So you kind of start to see how these drafts will go. Quarterbacks are going to be, because you're only playing one of them, and there's only going to be 14 of them make the playoffs. They're going to be kind of a hot commodity early on.
I like that.
You can already see all these guys went.
I like that Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, St. Brown stack right there. That's a nice one because, even if the Lions get upset, that's fine. They're going to be thrown all over the place if their defense keeps playing the way it is. So.
Oh my God!
Right before that sucks.
Saquon and Devonta Smith.
Wow.
Damn. Okay. All right. Well, we can build up the.
We can go with the Ravens. Go Henry here.
The Ravens stuff. We can at least go Henry.
Yep.
What other are there? Even any other Philly players?
No, because I think you're left with a tight end or something. Yeah.
Calcaterra. That's rough. I can't believe it. I really thought we'd really get him.
Yeah, that sucks.
An unstacked Jalen Hurts would not be ideal, even if you made the Super Bowl with it. Right. I mean, you could play it to where we do we get 4 players from 2 AFC teams. That could be live. You got a Derrick Henry. You could do an Isaiah Pacheco. Yep. So you have a running back from 2 AFC teams, and you're just load up on Baltimore, Kansas City guys.
I don't mind that.
Let's just try to pivot a little bit here.
I like that better than Zay Flowers. I think there.
It gives us a couple. There's plenty of options for both of these teams that are a little bit lower. You could even go to Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman,
right?
Xavier Worthy, Noah Gray. If you had
Isaiah Likely,
I think we could do that.
I got Isaiah Likely last pick of the one I did earlier, so I think that he's definitely available. Obviously risky. Mark Andrews there, but he tends to show up in big moments. So playoffs, you think he might do just fine in the red zone for sure.
So I guess we wouldn't need 4 guys if we put is Goddard going to be playing in the playoffs? I know he's on the IR.
He'll be eligible to return final week of the regular season. That's promising.
Okay. Yeah, so let's assume he's going to play. So that gives us at least 2, and we could always throw on a Kenny Gainwell or something. So maybe we don't have to go 4. Maybe we do a 3 Chiefs Ravens, and then that kind of will still keep the door open for Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton. I don't know, something at the end of the draft.
Yeah.
So I think in this situation, we probably like any of these Baltimore, Kansas City guys this turn, and then we could probably get 2 of them go. We probably get Dallas Goedert later on.
Yep.
Or do we need to take? All right, who do you like, Hopkins? Actually, we can do Hopkins or Worthy both. So let's take Mark Andrews.
Yeah,
and get 2 Baltimore.
I almost like Worthy better than Hopkins personally, but yeah, definitely here Mark Andrews. Yeah,
Xavier over Hopkins.
Yeah, I like that.
So again, if you're in the chat with us, what you have to get out of every round. So you can't just necessarily load up on Chiefs, load up on Lions, load up on now Eagles potentially, and expect to make it out of the first round. If the Eagles have a bye now, the first round, that guy who took Saquon and Devonta Smith in the first 2 rounds, he's going to be in a world of hurt now.
Yeah,
because he's not going to get those points out of there. We'll take Xavier Worthy here. So we've now got our 2 Baltimore guys and our 2 Chiefs. Let's take a look at the board. It's much more fun. I mean, so this guy, Nico, Zay Flowers. Interesting. Rip C13 has an interesting start here coming across. See, Josh here in the 4 hole gives Mahomes, Kelsey, Hopkins. So if the Lions and Chiefs both have the 1 seed, 4 of your first 5 picks, they're not playing in round 1. They're not. You can't necessarily load up on all Chiefs and Lions. You want to because that's who you think might make the Super Bowl.
Right.
But you have to have at least 5 live. And then if that's the case, you got to be perfect with those 5 just to get out of the first round. I would say a couple weeks ago when maybe the Chiefs weren't sure if they were going to be the 1 seed, you can kind of play with that a little bit more. But it looks pretty I mean, they had to lose 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, I was just going to say at
this point.
It would be really unfortunate if they didn't get the bye. And what is it? The top 2 out of the 6 move on, right? From the first round.
Is it 2 out of 6 or 1 out of 6?
I think it's 2 for the mitten. I'd have to double check though now so I can mention that.
Oh yeah, 2 out of 6. You're right. 2 out of 6, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10, a 375 seat final.
Yep.
So that's nice. It gives us a little extra opportunity here. I got all my season long best ball winnings in here. Not all of them yet. I got 3 teams left, so
nice.
I got all those winnings now. I just got to turn around and put them right back into underdog. It's never a question of how these organizations stay afloat.
That's right.
You win the money, you put it right back in.
Yeah, no one ever wins and walks away. That's for sure. Because when you win, you can obviously just do it again, right? It's easy.
Yeah, this money's not even coming out of my account. Like this is already out of my bank account. So, all right, we are back on the clock, and good God, this guy took Dallas Goedert. What the heck?
Jeez.
Is this guy
again sniped again?
All right. Probably wouldn't be a bad time to
There's Kenny.
Just put Gainwell in here. Should we take another we're gonna take Gainwell. Okay.
I guess we take
should we take another AFC team?
Yeah, I think that's probably the right call.
We can get some Buffalo here. Keon Coleman. We could get some Charger action. Chargers are cheap. Houston.
Yeah.
Buffalo, we could do if we took Coleman. We could take like Ray Davis later.
Mm-hmm.
Have another running back option for the Super Bowl. We wouldn't have to take Ray Davis, but we could. We could also take like Dalton Knox or Dalton Kincaid. I mean, Dawson Knox.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman goes, so we can't take him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Ray Davis pick. I have a best ball league that I'm in still that has waivers. I just picked up Ty Johnson just in case too. Like there's a lot of big play potential for Buffalo. So I would.
All right, do we load up on Baltimore, Kansas City, or do we take a third AFC team? Quick.
Third AFC team.
All right, it is going to be God, how did I
Uh-oh.
not click that in time? Gonna be Jaden Reed. Got to get out of the first round, you know?
That's right. Oops.
There is all NFC guys down here. Holy cow. There's Tank Dell. Tank Dell's a nice, cheap option.
Yeah, Tank Dell wouldn't be bad. I do
Ty
think Houston's
Johnson.
going to put up a better showing in the playoffs than they have in the regular season. I don't mind.
Oh, we could have done like a Ray Davis, Mac Hollins. I got the Keon Coleman went. That threw me off. All right, so far we have Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco, Kenneth Gainwell. So we've got our running back with our quarterback just in case for the Super Bowl. We've got Mark Andrews, Xavier Worthy, now Jaden Reed. So definitely need to bring probably to tie a bow on this. God, what do you think? Grant Calcaterra?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got to go. We have Kenny Gainwell, but he's not going to catch.
Maybe Dallas Goedert doesn't actually come back healthy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's been in and out of lineups all season. I mean,
so Grant Calcaterra, and then we need 2 more AFC guys. Who's the best? And we can get Calcaterra at the very end.
Yeah. So
what AFC guys?
I mean, I like the lad McConkey. We already have too many Ravens. Otherwise, I like Justice Hill there too.
We could go to Cincinnati. Oh, Mac Hollins. We could go Buffalo.
Yeah,
we go Mac Hollins and you want Ray Davis or Ty Johnson.
We're doing.
I'll take Mac Hollins here, and then we have a little time.
Yep, and then we'll go
Ray Davis or Ty Johnson.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like Ty Johnson's getting more work lately, but I don't know if I can.
Well, Ty Johnson just went.
No, he did. Okay, well, there we go. Yeah, he hasn't been.
Yeah, he's got all Buffalo. Holy cow. This is a very interesting build.
Jeez. So is he taking?
But it kind of works because right now Buffalo's not going to be. They're going to be playing in the first.
Yeah. Is this Ray Davis here then?
Yeah, we'll take Ray. I think that actually kind of ties it together nicely. I don't love our Philly guys, but I don't mind the 2 AFC guys from each team that we're bringing back. Buffalo's a little thin, but Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Pacheco, Xavier Worthy. I like those 2 options.
Yep.
Should it be Baltimore or Kansas City in the Super Bowl?
Yep.
Against the Eagles?
Yeah, I like that a lot. And Gainwell is going to get some work, so it's not like he will be completely useless or anything like that.
Yeah. And the Jaden Reed thing, you could get worse picks, I guess, in that situation.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily fit with the strategy perfectly, but he's still a fine pick. He's gonna.
So B. Sager out of the 1 hole when Josh Allen, James Cook, Khalil Shakir. He also has Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, and Ty Johnson. Just loaded up on the Buffalo Bills. 6 Bills there. He's got Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison on the other side. My assumption is he'll end up here with another Ram to end this thing with. Doesn't feel bad. Rip C is the one I want to kind of figure out what he was doing.
Yeah.
Saquon, Devonta Smith, Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, Puka Nacua, Dallas Goedert, CJ Stroud, Bucky Irving, Justice Hill. So he doesn't Houston and Baltimore could play in the first round.
Yeah.
So you're already losing one of those players in the first round. And is Tampa Bay and
he's probably not taking another quarterback either, so it's kind of risky.
CJ Stroud. Unless he just believes Houston's going to the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Stroud Collins stack is a nice one if they can win their first game, but
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they do.
We'll tie a bow on ours with Grant Calcaterra. Feels pretty good. Jordan Love going. Oh, he did go. I thought he was going to go undrafted.
Oh, okay.
Ripsy did take a second quarterback.
That makes sense. Okay.
But Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay is the 4 seed right now. Could potentially have a home game in the playoffs, and Baker Mayfield's not even being drafted.
Nobody likes
that's what you can. Baker Mayfield, top 5 fantasy quarterbacks, and they took guys to round 2 last week,
and they beat the Eagles last year in the playoffs. So what are we doing?
Still not being taken. So if you're in the chat with us, we got to do a Vikings Chiefs for sure. We just kind of did a Ravens versus Eagles. Who do you think? What's a Super Bowl matchup you'd like to see us try to whip a team around here? As we'll draft at least one more, maybe 2. Let me jump into another one. If you are here, I know you can't see it because I have to do it on my phone, but I am going to jump into another mitten right now. So come on in. The water's warm and it is already filled, so you cannot join this one. Sorry. Don't join one. That was quick.
Got the 103. Okay, I like being close to the middle.
Some badges here, not bad. I wonder when I'm going to get my badge. Like how much money do I have to give Underdog just to get a badge?
You should get a bonus because it never leaves your Underdog account either.
No kidding. Like how does a man get a badge around here?
What are we looking at first pick here at 103? If we know going into it, it's Vikes Chiefs that our game plan is.
Vikings Chiefs is the game plan.
I mean,
they're pretty cheap.
Yeah,
I think if we go Vikings Chiefs, we got to go Sam Darnold, not Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. I like that.
So go to draft. I did this last time. What we could do is
Jahmyr Gibbs went 2 there. Okay.
We could push Justin Jefferson to the 10 spot, and we could just get like best play. Like, who do we think is going to get us through the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, unless we're worried about the bye for Philly. I mean, Saquon's hard to pass up. Amon-Ra's, that's the bye position right now, but otherwise I like him.
All right, let's take Barkley.
Yeah,
let's just say Eagles don't get the bye.
Yep.
So now is when we kind of, again, I mean, you could have like pushed Mahomes there. Could have just taken JJ there. Right. But I think we now take Jefferson and we play for a Darnold stack.
Yeah, I love that.
One of my teams that I have left, it's a Josh Allen team, but it has the Sam Darnold double stack with Addison and Jefferson.
Ooh, yeah. How amazing was that game a couple weeks ago? They each had 130 yards.
Well, it was also the same. Son of a bitch.
Are we just going to get sniped all night?
Over and over and over again.
Good Lord.
Well, we could go Mahomes side of this.
Yeah, we could flip to that.
Or we could just take Pacheco here.
Oh, that's because we can
ADP doesn't really matter in this game.
Right, and you could easily still get Darnold and Addison as a stack too, which would be fine.
Addison, maybe Hawkinson.
Yeah, and then our running backs are in really good shape.
Just what about Jones?
Speaking. Aaron Jones, I don't mind.
You get Aaron Jones. 22 and 27. Probably have time for them. Let's take Kelsey on this one.
Yeah, I like that.
And then I think what we could do is kind of get where we feel comfortable with Vikes Chiefs. And then at the end, we can maybe just play like a couple just one-off guys that we think will help the advanced guys.
Yep.
Mike Evans or Ladd McConkey, like just guys we think have a high ceiling that could help us get out of round one. I mean, Saquon's going to be one of those guys. as well. There goes. Oh, Aaron Jones went right after us. Wow.
Yeah.
So this guy is going to try to stack up Minnesota, it looks like. So we got to take that into account. I don't think we've done that much. Like
It's
we
hard-
probably could have taken, we probably should have taken Aaron Jones just because this guy was, but I don't know.
Does he dare
Maybe-
take Addison too? It would be par for the course to get sniped with Addison right here.
I would say if he would have taken Addison, we probably would have just had to change course and like just tried something else like on the NFC side. But
Yeah.
we are going to need to take Darnold though before him somehow. Do we ADP wise, he's 40. Do we push him to 39 or should we just take him now?
I think if we need him for the stack, it doesn't feel right taking him this early, but
this guy has Hurts. Surely he's not going to take he's not going to take two quarterbacks in the first 6 rounds, right?
no, yeah, that's true. I think we're safe.
Push it.
Yeah, let's push it.
Let's push it. We've got Xavier Worthy here.
I love that.
Snag him. So we got Pacheco, Kelsey Worthy. We got Addison. What other Vikings guy can we grab?
I mean, Hawkinson's there.
Hawk, yeah. What about like a Cam Akers? I mean, we probably don't need him.
Yeah, and we can get him at the very last pick, I would assume. Or I mean, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh yeah. He
I would-
barely has an ADP.
Yeah.
These guys that have 60 means they've never been drafted.
Right.
So it means he's rarely ever drafted. So if this guy does not take Darnold, I don't.
Oh my god.
What is happening?
I don't know. Oh.
Subtlebird, are you in our chat and just
Yeah,
trolling
seriously.
us?
Please let us know that you're doing this on purpose.
At least
because
just
otherwise
tell
it's
us you're
too weird.
trolling us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Pivot in 5 seconds. Or Hawkinson or
well, I'm pivoting. We gotta get off the Chiefs Vikings. We don't have a quarterback for Chiefs Vikings.
gosh.
So I just pivoted to
Trevor Love or Jordan Love. You're Trevor.
I do love Jordan Love.
Trevor loves Jordan Love.
Golly.
Oh, and he got sniped. Fantastic.
We're just gonna not play a quarterback here.
I guess so. I mean,
Because here, like,
can we go? Do we have to go like Baker McMillan at this point? Like, where's Baker gone to?
Stroud, Daniels, Wilson, Baker's there. I assume Evans is gone.
Yeah, Evans is gone. Oh wait, no,
Yeah, he was gone.
he was gone. Okay,
I think we still at least
take Hawkinson.
stack up the two teams that we were stacking.
Yep. Yeah, that makes
Because even then, like maybe Baker gets to the wild card or the championship game. Could they not face Minnesota until the championship game?
I mean, they'll get the 4 seed. We'll get the. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably be the 5 seed, honestly. So I doubt we'd play in the second round at least.
All right, chat. We're ready to move on off this team.
Yeah.
Let's do another one though. But you guys tell us in the chat. We need some teams. If we're gonna do another one, we need your participation.
Yeah.
What teams should we stack up? What's the Super Bowl we're gonna chase?
And if you're the one in here sniping all of our picks, please let us know so we can at least try to play mind games with you.
I mean, Subtle Bird has 3 quarterbacks. What are we doing,
That
guys?
doesn't make sense. Who's the
He's
other
like,
one?
I'm just not even gonna let these guys. He's gonna take
Oh,
Baker
he's-
Mayfield here.
Oh, yeah, for sure he is. Okay, Cooper Cup. All right. I mean,
Let me just make sure none of these guys have. So I think we can push Baker at least a round. Are there any Buccaneers? McMillan? Okay.
Yeah, McMillan. Rashad White, is he still there?
No, he was not there anymore.
Okay.
I'm going to take a
Yeah, I like Ladd.
just want to take a guy to help us kind of advance, and then we'll just take Baker McMillan here to.
Yep.
Unless, of course, somebody wants to snipe us on Baker.
Yeah, if someone's paying that. Okay, here we go.
Highlight takes Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, he got a late Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin. I like that at that spot, I suppose. Looks pretty decent.
Yeah, there's Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Baker Mayfield, Jalen McMillan, Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix.
Yep.
Ladd McConkey, Justin Herbert. There are a couple late stacks that you could really get. The problem here is we'll be live in the Super Bowl should Mahomes and Sam Darnold not be starting. If it's like Carson Wentz versus Daniel Jones.
Nick Mullins. No, yeah. That would be the story. That would be, I don't even know.
Wait, is it Nick Foles?
It's Nick Mullins.
Oh, Nick Mullins. I thought you said Nick Foles. I'm like, one, I didn't know he was in the league anymore. Two, that would actually be the storyline. Carson Wentz versus Nick Foles. Oh,
That'd
man. It all comes back around. Nick Mullins. Okay.
Yeah, there's no strategy I'm missing with three quarterbacks, right?
No, I don't think
that's
so.
Weird, right? Yeah. Okay.
That's crazy. Especially when you have Jalen Hurts. I understand maybe grabbing a second one because you think maybe he's going to get the bye week.
Yeah.
But not, I definitely would not take him from the same conference.
Right.
Because if I'm going to take a second quarterback, I'm going to take it from the other conference, and maybe that team faces the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And now you have both quarterbacks live instead of just one. All right, chat. Nobody gave us any more names. Maybe we'll just do one more and kind of just see how this one goes. We'll let this one play out a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good
we don't
idea.
have to chase anything.
And then whoever's in our minds right now won't have any clue yet. Won't be able to take every guy right before we're looking at him.
This one was already filled as well, so.
102.
I didn't see any of the. Nobody has been the same guy, so that's good to know.
That is good. Yeah,
that's good to know. As we do this last draft here, as we talked about kind of at the top, if you want to support Bite Size Sports, you want to support another damn fantasy podcast, Josh and I, feel free, if you would like, Venmo at Bite Size Sports. Put ADP in the comments when you send that ensures that it supports ADP itself. Otherwise, you're also just going to support the entire Bite Size community. Yep. Jump in our Discord. It's a free Discord. Absolutely no money needed. Come join the Discord. We're talking sports all day, every day. And then I didn't plug it. I need to plug it real fast. Tomorrow night, I will be right back here along with Nate, another bite-sized contributor. We're going to talk college football playoffs. He's a big Indiana guy, big Signetti guy. So we'll talk a lot of Indiana Hoosiers tomorrow night and a lot of college football playoff previews. So right here Thursday, 8:30 Central Time tomorrow night after the bounce with Kev and James. Let's go Gibbs. Let's do a Detroit stack here. What do you think about that? I might have lost Josh. I may have lost Josh. Gonna be drafting this one on my own. Says his internet just went out. Tired of drafting Bestball teams. You know, there is a little bit to drafting this early. Obviously, we could wait until the playoff picture was completely finalized and we know exactly what's going on. But once that happens, all the ADP just really condenses, obviously, around those teams. Right now, you still got some of these wildcard teams in play, and it makes some of the ADPs a little bit easier to get to. So that's why you want to draft some of these teams. I wouldn't go draft 50 teams this week. I want it to play out a little bit. But every single NFL game, we get more and more answers. After tomorrow night's game, we're going to have a lot of answers in the AFC. And then after Saturday, we're going to have even more answers in the AFC with the Chiefs-Houston game. Is Baltimore Saturday as well? Who's the second game Saturday? Baltimore-Pittsburgh. Yeah, so we're going to have a lot of answers come Saturday night for the AFC. So you could jump in and do some more drafts that time. Get a little bit more information. That's all we're doing. We're trying to use the information we have right now to draft the best teams we possibly can and then adjust with some of these teams, right? We're not only battling the 5 guys we're drafting against, we're battling against 112,000 others. So you got to be smart with the information that you have. All right, I took the Jahmyr Gibbs. As I mentioned, once you do that, all the quarterbacks are pretty well gone. So I guess I could go ahead and try to build a little bit of a Chiefs Lions thing here. And I'm going to take Jameson. I'm taking Jameson here because Chaos for Theory just took Josh Allen, right? So he's not going to take Patrick Mahomes, shouldn't take Patrick Mahomes right here. So I can go ahead and get the guy that I want and then let Patrick Mahomes come around the turn, which he did right there. So now I'll take Mahomes. We've now got a nice Detroit, Kansas City going. Again, this is a little scary right now because Detroit currently sits in the bye. So right now it looks like we've got 2 teams that have the bye. So I'm going to go ahead and build this as the Chiefs or as the Lions lose the bye week. So they're going to play week 1 is what I'm going to build this as. Josh, welcome back. Right when you went out, I said, should we build a Lions stack? Do you like Jameis or do you like ASB or Jahmyr Gibbs better? You were gone. I took Gibbs. We got Jameson Williams, and then all the quarterbacks were gone, as we kind of mentioned before. So I went ahead and took Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Mahomes is Beautiful. An easy stack.
I would have leaned Gibbs
over St.
Sorry,
Brown.
I would have leaned Gibbs over St. Brown too. St. Brown's gotten a lot of targets, but I think with Montgomery out in the playoffs, they're going to have to just lean all on Gibbs, and I think it's going to be great for their running game. And we talked about earlier how banged up the Lions secondary is. They're going to have to be putting up points too, and Jameson Williams is always there for a big play for us. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I've already got Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins kind of queued up here.
Yep.
We could also go Sam Laporta. Who
do we have Chiefs wise outside of Mahomes?
Just Mahomes so far.
Just Mahomes. Okay.
And Kelsey's gone. Pacheco's gone.
The only reason I'd lean Laporta is because I feel like we could get Worthy or Hopkins after, and Laporta's been kind of turning it around lately, especially with the wide receiver tight end kind of dual position. But
okay. We'll go Sam Laporta. So we've got our 3 Lions here.
Yep.
Again, the story that we're telling is that the Lions do not get the bye. But the Chiefs are going to get the bye. So we do need to, well, most likely. So in this scenario, we will need to have a late NFC stack, NFC stack that we're going to want to put together. That could be like a Jordan Love, probably our best option. I'm going to take Worthy over Hopkins again. We're still on that train.
Yep.
The only thing that I don't really think Worthy would have come back, so I'm not really that worried about it. But that would be the only potential, like maybe we could push him back. Hopkins might come back.
Yeah.
Actually, he won't. This guy looks like he's got some. Well, he's got all AFC guys. Okay, he's just
Interesting.
Big KB is doing some weird stuff. All right, so we've got our Patrick Mahomes to Xavier Worthy with our 3 Lions right there. If it's the Super Bowl is the Chiefs Lions, we've got our 5 live players.
Beautiful.
So we are kind of set in that situation. We don't necessarily have to continue to build on it. I think, I think a Kareem Hunt wouldn't be terrible. A Samaje Perine, a Noah Gray, something like that, just as a third Chiefs piece. But I don't think we have to get crazy with that. And, or we could just keep it 5 and just play 5 other guys just in case both these teams do make the bye.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that, to be honest. You mentioned an NFC stack. I like a Stafford, Nakua, Stafford Cup stack. We haven't done Rams a lot. We talked about how they kind of have been a team that can run or can put it on. So I don't know.
But we could
what's your gut tell you? What's that?
We could double stack the Rams.
Yeah, let's do it.
Puka. I mean, we could,
because they are in the driver's seat to come out of the West at this point.
Yeah. Go Puka. We're going to need a running back in the first round. Kyron just went. We could go Joe Mixon or Najee Harris for the advancement.
Yeah. I like Mix. Well, I think I lead Mixon there.
Okay. Go that route. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Nice.
I don't think I had a preference. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up Kupp and Stafford here. So right now, like we already mentioned, we kind of got our 5 for the Super Bowl that we like.
Yeah. And if we believe in the Rams, they have the Jets this week, and then they have the Cardinals and the Seahawks. So they really should be. They really should be getting into the playoffs unless they completely implode.
So we've got 3 picks left. We know we want to go Kupp, Stafford.
Yep. Can we get someone before Kupp and before both of them, or do you think we got to take Kupp next and then we get? Because I think we can take Stafford last.
I think if we take Kupp, at 49 just to make sure we get him and he doesn't go to this random team.
Right.
I think if we do that, I don't think anybody is going to take Stafford. I know we've said that in the past and they have, but I just there's no other Rams. The only other Ram is Kyron Williams.
Right.
And he has Josh Allen. There's really no reason for him to take a Stafford.
Yeah, that's true. Although I will say, I think I heard today that Tyler Higbee's finally coming off the PUP list. So sneaky Rams
Tyler
play.
Higbee, there he
hasn't played all year, but you never know.
He was kind of like I was really against Hawkinson early in the year. Obviously, I didn't think we would see him until Thanksgiving. He came back a couple weeks early.
Yeah.
Higbee was in that same kind of boat. He's obviously a much lesser talented player than Hawkinson is.
Yeah.
But he was in that same boat where he wasn't supposed to play until late, and he actually isn't playing until late, whereas Hawkinson kind of came back early.
Right.
All right, so if we take Cooper Kupp first before the turn, then it'll kind of give us a little bit of time to decide. We could take another Chief and Hollywood Brown That double stacks Mahomes.
Yeah.
But it also kind of forces us, like we would absolutely have to have Detroit not make the bye at that point.
Who do we have? NFC wide receiver tight ends that are highest there.
We've got an AFC for sure in that we have Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So we definitely have a running back. We're going to get Stafford, so we'll definitely have a quarterback.
So we need
it'll really
NFC,
just be about
an NFC running back, maybe. Oh no, we already, like you said, it's only one running back.
We could probably just literally just take best first round one player available that we expect.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to correlate. I don't think at all.
For sure, I like that idea.
So we've got Bateman, Dobbs, Tank Dell.
Ooh, there's Jamar Chase sitting there. So tempting.
I don't mind Tank Dell because we kind of have a little bit of Houston here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Thinking like that game maybe just goes off.
Yeah. He did nothing for me in one of my leagues that I was really counting on him. So this is
he's just waiting for the playoffs,
off. Yeah, he's just waiting.
He does have a high ceiling, right? Like he can put up a big number in a hurry.
Yep. I think that's the play for sure.
Hopefully nobody takes Matt Stafford here. If you've hung out with us this long, we do very much appreciate it. Hit that like button.
Thank you very much.
We are going to shut it down after we finish up this draft. Make sure you're kind of following either Josh or I on X to kind of see what we're going to do next week. We have not really talked about it. To go ahead and state the obvious, we will not be live Wednesday night next week. Right. We both enjoy our marriages and we'd like to keep it that way. So
100% true.
we will not be on live Wednesday night. It's already a big enough deal that the Chiefs play at noon on Christmas. So I'm already kind of fighting that battle.
Is that one of the Netflix games?
Yeah, it's one of the Netflix games. So
it's going to be so weird watching on Netflix.
It is going to be very weird. Not 100% looking forward to it, but it is what it is. Going to be a big game. So
yeah,
appreciate you all being here. Hit that like button, share if you would, and come back and see us next week. We'll try to get a show up sometime next week. If not, we'll definitely be back the following week. I'm going to take Matthew Stafford here for us. I'll go back and I will name all three of these drafts. Josh, so we know which ones we drafted here on stream. And before we get out of here, tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, at JLimate on X. If you want to come talk to me. And I'm one of those weirdos that I get sucked into looking at people's playoff teams. So if you've been sticking with us and now that I'm no longer in the playoffs in a lot of my leagues, I'd like to live vicariously through. So go ahead and, tag me in a tweet and show me your playoff roster going into week 16. I love when there's football and holidays combined, so I'm excited for what's coming up. But yeah, won't see you same time next week, that's for sure. But come hit me up on X and hope all the best in your week 16 matchups. And yeah, thanks to anyone who's hung out this long. It's been fun. I best ball drafts are fun too, and because drafting is for a lot of people the best part. And I think that when you can remove the lineup tinkering, it kind of helps. It's kind of nice.
That is very much. That is very.
I mean, it puts a lot of stress on the draft, that's for sure. But drafting is fun regardless. And then now you just sit back and watch.
Yeah, I don't have to pick between Sam Darnold and Josh Allen this week. I can just let them play it out and see who gets the most points for me. All right. Appreciate you all being here and supporting us as always. Hope to see you all next week. Until then, obviously have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all of the above. And as always, may the scores be in your favor this week. See you all next week.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I happen in the Porsche, 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats to turn to a ghost. I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get just by letting them talk. So I'm